I pray that, he ain't dead or nothing, because we all want to see him alive.
New developments tonight in the case of a missing Columbus teen. A number of people now facing charges as police say they believe the teen may be dead. What we're learning about the investigation.
I trusted him. Like I said, I've been with him since she was 18 months old. He changed her diapers.
A mom shocked to learn a man she trusted is now behind bars, accused of taking inappropriate photos of her daughter. What she's telling us after appearing in court today.
I intend to lead while following what the court tells us to do.
And education uncertainty lingering over Ohio. Governor Mike DeWine standing by his decision to move forward with a new Department of Education despite an order to pause.
ABC 6 News at 6 starts with this breaking news alert.
We start tonight with breaking news on Capitol Hill. The U.S. House voting to remove Speaker Kevin McCarthy from his leadership role. It is the first time in U.S. history where the motion to vacate was successful. This effort led by Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz. He's been a frequent critic of McCarthy and targeted him because of the bipartisan bill to avoid a government shutdown. North Carolina Republican Patrick McHenry is now the interim speaker with very limited powers. The House will ultimately need to elect a new speaker, but there's no clear alternative who would have the support needed to win. Without a speaker, the House can't get any work done.
Police have arrested one of the suspects for the deadly shooting of an AutoZone worker near Polaris, or in customer. Zacchaeus Davis is being held on $5 million bond, charged with the aggravated murder in the deadly shooting of Alejandro Fajardo Torres along Sancus Boulevard back in late August. Police say Fajardo Torres was shot while trying to stop an armed robbery. Police initially were looking for two suspects. There's no word on that second person.
Columbus police now believe 17-year-old Imperial Stewart, missing for nearly 2 weeks, may no longer be alive.
5 people are now facing charges in connection with his disappearance. Steve Levine live at Columbus Police Headquarters tonight with the latest on the investigation. Steve?
And Bob and Stacia, those 5 people all charged within the past 24 hours. A lot of people who looked for the 17-year-old, shocked and saddened to learn Columbus police believe he may no longer be alive. 18-year-old McQuell Bowles and his mother, 40-year-old Tywisha Peterson, said little before a judge. Both charged with obstructing justice in connection with Imperial Stewart's disappearance. The 17-year-old was last seen in a North Columbus neighborhood 2 weeks ago. Businesses like this ice cream shop passing out missing flyers to help find Imperial.
It really just sparked a community to come together to try to find him,
But Columbus police now believe Imperial may no longer be alive.
Well, I think it's sad, seeing especially a young man.
Peterson and her son both claim they are not involved in Imperial's disappearance. Prosecutors say witnesses told police Peterson took part in a conversation about how to get rid of a car used in a murder. This charred black Chrysler 300 found by a Fairfield County Sheriff deputy last month in a Canal Winchester Park, now at the center of Imperial's disappearance. Police telling us the car was set on fire and burned so badly the license plate melted. Investigators say a dark-colored SUV was seen fleeing the scene. Charging documents state McQuell Bowles was shot inside a black Chrysler 300 while a robbery of Imperial was occurring. In court, prosecutors say they can link Bowles to Imperial's disappearance.
He claims to have no knowledge of anything that happened or where anything occurred, but we have witnesses and evidence to the contrary of that.
3 more people now charged. 39-year-old Janae Dumas and 17-year-old Samaya Proctor face several felony charges, including obstructing justice and tampering with evidence. 16-year-old Russell Hardgrove Madison charged with felony obstructing justice. ABC 6 does not normally identify juveniles unless charged with felonies. Businesses who helped in the search for Imperial now praying police get that tip to find the missing 17-year-old.
I know people don't want to snitch me, You don't got to snitch, just let it be known.
Bowles and his mother now locked up on $500,000 bond. Police continue to search for Bowles' brother Michael, who last week was notified and said he was a person of interest in connection with this case. We did reach out to Columbus Police to see if they would speak on camera about the latest developments. They declined. We're live downtown. Steve Levine, ABC 6 News.
Thanks, Steve. Former nurse at Mount Carmel facing charges, accused of taking nude photos of an 11-year-old girl with hidden cameras in her bedroom and bathroom. 51-year-old Brian Trissel is being held on $1 million bond. The girl's mom calling Trissel a monster. Kate Seifert live at the courthouse for us tonight. Kate, this mom wanted to share her family's story with us.
Yeah, Bob, we typically don't identify victims of crimes like this one. But as you just mentioned, that mom really wanting to share her story and saying she and her daughter are not ashamed. She's the only person who should be ashamed is Brian Trissel. And as you mentioned, Bob, today in court, she called Trissel both a monster and a coward.
This was a little girl. A little girl.
A mom fighting for justice for her daughter in court today.
He's a monster. He is a monster that preyed on a child.
In August, Grandview Heights police said the juvenile victim told a staff member at her middle school that she found hidden cameras in her home. Detectives later found numerous recordings made by Brian Trissel of the victim while she was naked.
I tell her every day she was brave. She was brave to go to an adult and to speak her truth, and she never should be ashamed or never be afraid to do that.
The mother of the victim tells us she had a 10-year relationship with Trissel.
And that was really, really hard to swallow, that this man I trusted so much with my children, my family.
Trissel was an employee at Mount Carmel Hospital. We talked to a spokesperson there today who says they are aware of his arrest, but that Trissel is not actively working in any of its facilities, and the allegations do not align with their values. The victim's mom told our team she reported Trissel to the Ohio Board of Nursing. When we checked in with them today, they said they could not confirm or deny the existence of a complaint, saying information received that's related to an investigation is confidential. But they did say Trissel has no past discipline on his nursing license. Now, according to Grandview Heights Police, Trissel is facing 3 separate charges: pandering, obscenity involving a minor, tampering with evidence, and voyeurism. Now, we do want to reiterate once more that we do not typically share the identities of victims involved in crimes like these, but as we mentioned and as you heard from the mother of the victim, they wanted to share their family story with us. On your side in downtown Columbus, I'm Kate Seifert, ABC 6 News.
Kate, thank you. Uncertainty in schools tonight as the state's education department is in limbo. The governor's proposed overhaul of the Board of Education is supposed to be on hold, but creation of the new board went forward anyway. ABC 6's Tom Bosco live at the State House for us tonight with what's next and what it means to you and your child. Tom?
Stacia, kids were in school today, teachers were in class, they were getting paid, and the governor says that will continue. That's all as his overhaul of the Board of Education and the Education Department moves forward. At least parts of it do, despite the order of a magistrate.
The court was incredibly clear that there should be no powers transferred, that there should be no changes to the State Board of Education.
But the new Department of Education was born anyway at 12:01 Tuesday morning. That's despite a temporary restraining order that was continued by a magistrate on Monday. The governor says the new department had to be created to prevent chaos.
I'm also not going to let there be a vacuum here and have people walking around wondering, do I show up for work today, or is there a new department? I'm not going to do that.
But the group of educators and parents fighting the issue in court say the governor overstepped his bounds.
If the Governor DeWine removed any power from the State Board of Education while this matter was pending, before the court is able to rule on the preliminary injunction, that we believe the governor would be held in contempt of court.
The creation of this new education department has been in the works for a while. Lawmakers slipped it into the budget bill that DeWine signed in July. Republicans in the State House say the board has been ineffective.
These 7 state school board members that filed the lawsuit have failed over the last 2 years to hire a permanent superintendent. They have left the Department of Education leaderless for 2 years.
Here's why this is important. Educational decisions would be taken out of the hands of an independent board elected by you. It would be put in the hands of an appointee of the governor. Here's what the new Department of Education and Workforce Development would be in charge of now. It would set academic standards for Ohio's grade schoolers and high schoolers. It would be in charge of the state report card system, and it would establish and oversee standardized testing. Here's what the elected Board of Education would be left to do. It would evaluate teacher applications and background checks and issue licenses. It would investigate complaints against teachers, and it would oversee Ohio's Teacher of the Year program. Educators and parents who are suing say that means decisions can be made in the dark.
The transparency and accountability and the public access and the public documents that anybody can see at any time, the votes are transparent, it's all gone. It goes into a black hole.
But the governor says there is accountability, that he's the one accountable.
There'll be no doubt who the buck stops with me. And if people don't like what's going on in the Department of Education, they got one person to go after, and that's me.
Now, both sides in this case have to make more arguments and file them tomorrow with the magistrate. Then it's going to be up to a judge to decide if the governor's plans go forward. It's not clear when that decision will come. And what is also not clear is what happens if a judge decides the governor's plan cannot go forward. Live on your side at the Ohio State House, I'm Tom Bosco, ABC 6 News.
Big-time college football coaches often become legends, and Hall of Famer Lou Holtz ruffled Buckeye feathers with shots at Ryan Day and company in South Bend.
As Clay Hall reports, Ryan Day's post-game jab at Holtz still the shot that's being heard around the Woody Hayes Athletic Center.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you can tell Ryan Day wants to put it away, but he doesn't regret answering the bell and taking his own shot at Coach Holtz. Day entertained a question or two today on the verbal jousting that led up to the game and followed after the Buckeyes' game-winning drive at Notre Dame. Maryland Week took a temporary detour as reporters peppered Ryan Day for 47 questions over a 32-minute session.
I'm proud of the grit that they showed. It was an emotional game. And I can tell you that the response that I've got from Buckeye Nation, people around Columbus, our team, has been remarkable.
Day was asked, how do you know when to speak up?
You know, in life, when people start talking and say things about you, at some point you got to put a foot in the ground, and our team did that, and it was a life lesson. It was.
Or keep your trap shut.
You have to execute a lot of patience. You have to bite your tongue a lot. That's part of the job.
You know, we always say ignore the noise, but every once in a while, you know, after a while, you know, someone's poking at you. You got to stand up for what you believe in.
I also know that, you know, it's Ohio against the world, and that's part of the job.
The fifth-year head coach knows the win in South Bend had a positive effect.
It's going to show itself on Saturday against Maryland. But, yeah, I think coming off that field, and I think a lot of guys gained a lot of confidence coming out of that game.
Now it's time to get after the turtle. The Maryland Terps are 5-0 with wins over Virginia and Michigan State. This turtle scores 38 points a game.
Ty Felton with a hat trick in the first half.
Winning third down, winning fourth down, and limiting explosive plays.
Our in-house former Buckeye and NFL defensive end, Jay Richardson.
What I want to see defensively, better just continued run gap fits. I think if you just continue to dominate against the ground, you'll create plays in the passing game.
Jay and the crew ready to set the table Saturday at the Shoe. Ohio State is a 19.5-point favorite to slow down the Talia Tagovailoa Express on Saturday. I made it through. I'm Clay Hall for the Football Fever.
Well, Clay, it may feel like summertime out there right now, but the time the Buckeyes take the field this weekend, it's going to feel more like football weather and potentially might even have just a few showers out there. Your full Buckeye forecast is coming up.
Still ahead, Columbus City leaders talking about alternative ways to respond to crises instead of police officers, what they're now proposing for mental health calls. Body camera video shows the moments a suspect fired at Columbus police officers last month. It happened September 22nd along Cannon Place. Officers were called to the area for a reported fight. That's when shots were fired.
They don't.
Investigators say the suspect took off after the shooting. They later caught up with 37-year-old Ricky Teague at his home nearby. He's now locked up at the Franklin County Jail, facing a number of charges, and he is due back in court tomorrow.
Tonight, Columbus leaders are holding a public hearing to discuss alternative crisis response teams. They're alternatives to officers when responding to 911 mental health calls, overdoses, and other crises. Let's send things over to Stefanich Haynock now, who's looking into the plan for us tonight and the meeting. Seth?
Yeah, well, Stacia, Bob, this public hearing started about 2 hours ago. The focus is on the 4 crisis groups that the city created 3 years ago. Now, each of these pilot programs respond to various emergency situations that may not require police presence, like you said, overdoses, mental health crises. Now, the mayor and council president Hardin both sharing the importance of mental health and also speaking on the great work that all of these crisis groups have been delivering to our community since they were created 3 years ago. Here's more from Mayor Ginther on these crisis groups and their responses here.
This is all about getting the right response at the right time for our neighbors. You know, what we need is, mental health services, addiction services for folks that are in crisis. The last place those folks belong are jail or an ER.
And there's a long list of speakers who are going to be sharing more on the data and the statistics surrounding these crisis groups and how they're helping our community here in Columbus. We'll have more on that tonight. Live on your side, I'm Stephanie Chainock from City Hall. Back to you.
Seth, thank you. Today, housing advocates are demanding fair rent and filed thousands of signatures at Columbus City Hall saying they want council members to act. The Columbus Coalition of Rent Control filed 4,200 names of those who want the city to regulate rent. Their plan includes licensing and registering rental units within city limits, levying a 60% tax on landlords who do not charge a fair rent, and creating a fair housing commission to oversee a city department of fair housing policy. One man delivering the names today, Joe Motil, who is running for mayor.
Supply and demand is 5 to 10 years away, even possibly 10 years away. So what are we going to do in the meantime to stabilize and put some kind of restrictions on the prices of rent?
The coalition is calling for Columbus City Council to vote on their proposed legislation, but they admit they did not collect enough names to force it to a ballot. If a vote is not held, the coalition asks for scheduled public hearings to discuss their fair housing policies. Problem solver Lisa Rontal has been digging into the housing crisis in Central Ohio for months, including the spike in out-of-town institutional investors. You can find her latest edition of Hidden Costs of Today's Housing Crisis right now on the WSYX YouTube page. Hear from neighbors impacted by proposed build-to-rent subdivisions, new school levies, and see what state and federal lawmakers are doing to protect you.
So it's been dry over the last month or so, but now we're looking at numbers suggesting it's dry enough that we actually are in actual drought at this point. We're not just abnormally dry. Parts of the state are actually in moderate drought. So what does that mean? So you may have noticed that your lawn is pretty dry, but check this picture out that Chelsea shot today at Hayden Run Falls. There are no falls. It's dried out. There is still a little bit of a pond at the bottom, but if you've ever been down there, this is a 35-foot set of waterfalls normally, and it's dried up at this point because we are so dry. Now, by the weekend, we're likely to have some rain, and you might even have a quick shower during the Buckeyes game this weekend as they take on Maryland at noon on Saturday. At kickoff, it's going to be a very different day. It's in the 80s right now. We're only going to be in the 50s by then, and that chance at a shower. Good opportunity to see the International Space Station again tonight. Well, it's a marginal opportunity because it's going to be pretty low on the horizon. It's only going to be about 16 degrees above the horizon, so that's going to be just barely above some distant trees. So if you've got a really good view of the horizon, you might be able to see that, but it's a low pass. Starts at 9:07. And you'll be able to see that in the southwest. Right now, we're mainly clear. It is going to continue to stay that way through the night tonight. Blue sky at the moment and very warm. We're at 85 degrees. It's going to be that way through the next few hours with temperatures eventually falling into the 70s. East breeze at 8 miles per hour and warm air across most of the eastern 2/3 of the U.S. The far west is cool, but we're very warm in the Midwest right now. It's still 84 in Circleville, 82 in Delaware and in Mount Gilead. The rest of your evening, at least in the 70s by 8 o'clock. But overnight tonight, we only dropped to 61 degrees, so that is well above average. By tomorrow, we're going to see some on and off clouds moving in. Most of this is just hit or miss clouds to start with. It's not going to be a mostly cloudy day. We'll still have plenty of sunshine, but it's going to be another summer afternoon with a little bit of humidity and temperature. temperatures in the 80s. But this cold front is on the way by Thursday. So Thursday afternoon and evening, we start seeing this rain move in, and that will continue Thursday and again on Friday with this secondary cold front. So tomorrow is still dry. Looks like a beautiful day, feeling like summertime. Air conditioning is going to be a good bet. 85 degrees in the afternoon. Normals this time of the year are in the lower 70s. Chance of showers Thursday afternoon and evening. More rain on Friday, and it's going to be in the 50s by this weekend.
Counting the hours now, it'll fall really arrives.
Yes. Tomorrow is still a beautiful day.
Right.
Just living for tomorrow. It's a beautiful day. After that,
starts to change.
I'll be over here.
We'll see you back here at 7 for Good Evening Columbus. World News Tonight is next.